nightmare.
Activate.
Okay, here we are, question number 4. It says some students investigated the size of a population of dandelion plants in a field. Figure 5 shows the field. It says the student placed 1 meter times 1 meter square quadrant at 10 random positions in the field. Counted the number of dandelion plants in each quadrant. The table 2 shows the results. Here we go, there's your results. So each one of those quadrants had a different amount of dandelions in it. They were all placed in random positions all across the area here, okay? So you got 1, 6, 2, 9, and whatnot, and then number 8 only had 1, and so, all right? So this is the results that we have. Now let's look at question 4.1. Here we go. It says, question 4.1, why did the student place the quadrants in random positions? So that's pretty easy, okay? We want to have a more accurate result. We're going to avoid bias, and we're going to make sure that the selection of the quadrants is random, okay? So we can just go for to avoid a bias. There we go. Now, it says, estimate the number of dandelion plants in the field. Calculate your answer using the information from figure 5 and table 2. Give your answer in standard form. All right. So for the first step, we need to calculate the mean number or the average number of flowers. Okay. So for that, we're going to have to add all the dandelions, and then we're going to get the mean. Okay, so we've got a mean, and the next thing we need to do is that we need to calculate the area of the field. Okay, so to find the area, what we're going to have to do is multiply the size of the field. For instance, if we continue all the way down here, if we calculate this area, we're going to have to do 150 times 300, and that gives us 45,000. And then if we do this, we're going to do 100 times 100, and that's going to be 10,000. All we got to do is add both together, and we got 55,000 meters square. Okay, that will be your answer for that. So we can write that down in the other side. All right, so now we have the area and we have the number of plants. Okay, so what we're going to do next is going to multiply the area times the number of plants. So we would do 55,000 times 6. That's going to give us 330,000. Okay, and now they're asking us to do that in standard form. So how are we going to do that? We're going to move the decimal point 5 places. So if we have it here, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what the decimal point will be now. So we got 3.3 times 10 to the power 5. And there you have it. That is your 5-mark question. Easy peasy. Right. Let's move on to question 4.3. Got a long one here. It says 5 quadrants 5, 7, and 8 were placed less than 10 meters from the woodlands. These quadrants contain a low number of dandelion plants. The student made the hypothesis. The light intensity affects the number of dandelion plants growing in the area. Planning an investigation to test the hypothesis. All right, so let's have a look. So it's saying that quadrants 5, 7, and 8. So we got 5. Yeah, we got quadrant 7. And we got quadrant 8. They had the lowest numbers of dandelions in them. Now the student is suggesting that because they were somewhere around this area here, which is close to the woodland, that's why they had the least number of dandelions in them, because the amount of sunlight that they're going to get, okay, the amount of sunlight they're going to get because of the woodland, obviously the trees and as they are bigger, they're going to produce that shadow, limits the amount of sunlight that those dandelions will have, and that's why there's less of them being grown there. Now the question is saying you to plan an investigation to test this hypothesis. So how are we going to do that? All right, so we got 2 types of testing for quadrants. We have one that where you put the random quadrants in random places. Okay, and that's the one that it was done in this investigation. However, there is another one that you can do, and it's called a linear one. So let's say we have the woodland over here and we want to find out. What you're going to do is that you're going to put down a wire or a rope, something that shows the straight pattern from the woodlands all the way to the other end. Okay, now instead of putting them in random positions, what you're going to do is that you're going to place the quadrants one after the other, getting away from the woodland. Okay, so you're gonna have all of them quadrants. Obviously this drawing is not to scale, right? But instead of putting them in random positions, you're gonna put them like this. You're gonna count the number of dandelions in each one of the quadrants, and depending on the number, this might also back up the theory that the ones that are closest to the woodland are going to have less dandelions than the ones that are getting further away, because there is no big trees here producing a shadow that limits the amount of sunlight intensity that the plants are going to be getting. Okay, so you need to write that down in a way that you can represent that in a 6-mark question. So let's get that done. Okay, so this is a very simplified way of doing it. So place the quadrants along the transect line. That will be 1 mark. Use the large number of quadrants to get better results. 2 marks. Place the quadrants at regular intervals. That could be the 3 marks. Count the number of flowers in each quadrant. 4 marks. Measure the light intensity in each of the quadrants. 5 marks. And then compare the results. That will be your 6 marks. Okay. Now there is another way of doing it that you could also do it using the transect line. Now, obviously this area here will have a lower light intensity because of the shadow produced by the woodlands, and you could have another transect line along this area here, okay, that would have a higher amount of light intensity. And as you compare both of them, you should be able to find out that most of the quadrants in this section will have lower amount of dandelions compared to the ones in this section, just because of the amount of light that they are receiving. Okay, so you can do it in any way, as long as you're able to justify why you done it in that way, and then your results actually have a valid outcome, then you should be okay. Okay, right, so let's move on to the next question. Here we go, question 4.4. Light is an environmental factor that can affect the growth of dandelion plants. Give 2 other environmental factors that can affect the growth of dandelions. Okay, so again, it's just asking you to give the 2 factors. It's not asking you to go into extreme detail about it. Okay, so we can look at a couple things like temperature, the water, the pH of the soil, any minerals in the soil, the wind, and any amount of herbivores in the area, because they'll be eating the plants. Okay, so any of those would give you the mark. Let's go. All right, so I've written down 6 of them, but you only need 2, and that's it. You will get your marks. Okay, so that is question 4.4 done, and I'll see you in the next video for question 5. Bosh.
It was a nightmare. Activate.